By the year 2194, humanity had spread far beyond Earth. What once seemed impossible, interstellar travel, had become routine. Human ships crossed star systems the way airplanes once crossed oceans. Dozens of colonies had been established, trade routes formed, and humanity had already encountered several alien civilizations. But none of them were as powerful or as mysterious as the Valerian Empire. The Valerians ruled hundreds of star systems in a distant region of the galaxy. Their technology was centuries ahead of humanity's, and their fleets were legendary. Entire alien civilizations respected or feared the Valerian throne. For years, humans had heard stories about their ruler, Queen Serilith. She was said to be ancient by human standards, brilliant in strategy, and absolutely ruthless when it came to protecting her people. So, when a Valerian diplomatic ship suddenly appeared near the human colony of Nova Terra, everyone knew history was about to change. I was there the day it happened. My name is Commander Ethan Hale, officer of the Earth Exploration Fleet. And the moment the Valerian ship arrived, I knew nothing would ever be the same again. The arrival of the Valerians. The Valerian vessel was unlike any ship humanity had ever seen. It was enormous, nearly 5 kilometers long, and shaped like a glowing crescent blade. Its hull shimmered with metallic blue light, and energy currents flowed across its surface like rivers of lightning. Our defense stations locked onto it immediately, but no one fired. You didn't shoot at a Valerian ship, not if you wanted to survive. A communication signal came through minutes later. The message was simple. Representatives of the Valerian Empire request diplomatic contact with the leaders of humanity. Within hours, the Colony Council assembled a meeting at the main orbital station. I had been assigned as security officer for the negotiations. That's when I first saw Princess Lysera, the Valerian princess. The Valerian delegation entered the chamber with quiet elegance. At their center walked a woman who looked both alien and strangely familiar. Valerians were tall, easily 7 feet, and their skin had a faint silver glow. Their eyes shimmered with soft violet light, and their long dark hair floated gently as if touched by an unseen breeze. Princess Lysera was even more striking than the others. She wore flowing robes woven with threads of living light, and a delicate crown rested on her head. But what stood out most wasn't her beauty. It was her presence. She carried herself with the quiet confidence of someone raised to rule galaxies. When she spoke, the room fell silent. I am Princess Lysera, daughter of Queen Serilith of the Valerian Empire. Her voice was calm, smooth, and powerful. We come not as conquerors, but as observers. The Colony Council exchanged uncertain glances. Observers? Of what? That's when Princess Lysera looked directly at me. For reasons I didn't understand, her gaze lingered longer than necessary. And something strange happened. She smiled. An unexpected friendship. Over the next several weeks, the Valerian delegation remained on Nova Terra. Officially, they were studying human culture and technology. Unofficially, Princess Lysera seemed far more interested in spending time with me. It started with simple conversations. She asked about Earth, about human history, about our music, art, and stories. At first, I assumed she was just curious about humanity. But the more time we spent talking, the more personal the conversations became. Your species fascinates me, she once said as we walked through the colony gardens. Why? I asked. Humans are fragile compared to many galactic species, she explained. Your lives are short, your body's less resilient. I raised an eyebrow. That doesn't sound like a compliment. She laughed softly. But you continue to explore, to build, to dream. Most species become cautious once they discover how dangerous the universe is. And humans? You run toward danger, she said with amusement. I shrugged. Someone has to. Over time, our friendship grew deeper. But there was a problem. Valerians had strict laws regarding royal bloodlines. A princess forming a bond with a human? That would be controversial. Very controversial. But neither of us cared. At least, not at first. The secret. Nearly a year passed after the Valerian delegation arrived. By then, Princess Lysera and I had grown incredibly close. Closer than either of us ever expected. One evening, she asked me to meet her at the observation dome overlooking Nova Terra's ocean. When I arrived, she looked unusually nervous. Ethan, she said quietly, I must tell you something important. What's wrong? I asked. She hesitated. For Valerians, reproduction is rare. Our biology is complex. I frowned slightly. Okay. She looked directly into my eyes. And yet somehow it has happened. It took a moment for her words to register. Then my brain caught up. Wait. My heart started racing. Are you saying? Yes. She nodded slowly. I am carrying children. Children. Plural. My mind spun. You mean? Our children, she said softly. The Queen learns the truth. The news could not remain secret forever. Eventually, word reached the Valerian Empire. And that meant one thing. Queen Seralith herself was coming. The day her flagship entered Nova Terra's orbit, every human on the planet felt the tension. Queen Seralith was even more imposing than her daughter. She stood nearly 8 feet tall, with silver armor flowing around her like liquid metal. Her eyes glowed with powerful intelligence. She entered the royal chamber with calm authority. Princess Lysera stood before her. I stood beside her. The Queen studied us both carefully. Then she spoke. My daughter, explain the situation. Lysera took a deep breath. Mother, I have chosen a partner. The Queen's gaze shifted toward me. You mean the human? Yes. The Queen remained silent for several seconds. Then Lysera spoke again. There is more. Seralith raised an eyebrow. What more could there possibly? Lysera placed a hand over her abdomen. I am expecting children. The chamber fell completely silent. The Queen blinked once. Twice. Then she whispered something that no one expected. Grandchildren? Her voice trembled. With a human father? The mighty ruler of a Valerian empire suddenly looked like she might collapse. A human father? She repeated weakly. For the first time in centuries, Queen Seralith was completely speechless. Crisis in the empire. The news spread quickly through the Valerian Empire. Reactions were mixed. Some nobles believed the royal bloodline had been corrupted. Others believed the children could represent a new evolutionary step for their species. Meanwhile, Queen Seralith struggled to process the situation. One evening, she summoned me privately. You understand the chaos your existence has caused? She said calmly. I figured it might cause some problems, I admitted. She stared at me for a long moment. Then something unexpected happened. She laughed. I have ruled an empire for 300 years, she said. I have survived wars, rebellions, assassinations. Then she shook her head. But I never imagined my greatest challenge would be human grandchildren. I smiled nervously. Sorry about that. She studied me carefully. You love my daughter. Yes. And you will protect her? With my life. The Queen nodded slowly. Then perhaps this future is not as disastrous as some believe. The true test. But the empire faced a bigger problem. A rival civilization, known as the Dravari Dominion, saw the situation as weakness. If the Valerian throne was divided, they would attack. And they did. A massive Dravari fleet moved toward Valerian space. The empire prepared for war. During the final strategy meeting, Queen Seralith surprised everyone. She looked at me. "Human Ethan Hale," she said. "Yes, Your Majesty? You have already disrupted centuries of tradition." That wasn't exactly the plan. She smiled faintly. "Perhaps it should have been." Then she continued, "You will command one of our fleets." The room exploded with shocked whispers. A human commanding Valerian ships? Unheard of. But the queen silenced them. "If this human is worthy of my daughter, he must prove himself worthy of the Empire." The battle against the Dravari fleet became one of the largest conflicts in Valerian history. Hundreds of ships clashed across the stars. Valerian commanders relied on centuries-old strategies. But I did something different. I used unpredictable human tactics, risky maneuvers, creative formations, surprise attacks. The Dravari fleet didn't expect it. Within hours, their lines collapsed. Within a day, they retreated. The Valerian Empire had won. And suddenly, the idea of a human in the royal family didn't seem so strange anymore. Ending. A new royal future. Months later, the royal palace celebrated the birth of 2 children, twin daughters, half Valerian, half human. Queen Seralith held one of the babies carefully. She looked at me with an expression somewhere between disbelief and pride. "You realize," she said slowly, "that these children will inherit the Valerian throne." I nodded. "Yes, Your Majesty." She sighed softly. "An empire ruled by my half-human granddaughters." Then she looked down at the child in her arms. The baby grabbed her finger. The queen smiled. "Well," she said, "they already seem quite powerful." She glanced at me again. "And stubborn." I laughed. "That definitely comes from the human side." Queen Seralith shook her head in amused disbelief. 3 centuries of ruling an empire, and this is how my dynasty changes forever. Then she looked at the stars beyond the palace windows. "Perhaps the future of the galaxy belongs to both our species." And for the first time since hearing the impossible words, "A human father?" the alien queen was no longer speechless.